coming out of this pandemic, people are going to really need to rethink how they do everything. This is something that none of us have a playbook for. None of us really know what to do. So what worked a year ago may or may not work right now.
Hi all, welcome to Engati CX. I am Drishti Shah from the Engati team, and today we have the pleasure of welcoming Saul Colt to our interview series. I would like to begin with just a quick intro of Engati. Engati is the world's leading multilingual no-code chatbot platform, available across 14 channels with 30,000 bots created across 186 countries in every domain and use case. Engati has also been recognized as a top platform by INC.com, Tech World, CIO, and many others. We run the Engati blog, video channel, and the Engati CX podcast, receiving upwards of 300,000 visitors annually. And now for our guest. Saul Colt is the founder and creative director of Saul Colt, the Idea Integration Company. During his career, he has been named as one of the iMedia 25 Internet marketing leaders and innovators, and is considered as one of Canada's best community builders, experiential marketers. New York Times best-selling author and internet pioneer Chris Brogan once referred to Saul as exactly who you want representing your company. And the message has been echoed by media properties ranging from INC to Forbes magazine. So hi Saul, we are really thrilled to have you on Engati.
I'm excited to be here. It's always nice to hear my bio read by other people. It sounds so important.
It is. It's a great achievement.
Thank you.
So I would like to begin with the first question that I have for you is that why is word of mouth marketing still the most powerful form, and what role does word of mouth play in a company's road to success?
Okay, so word of mouth is so vital because essentially what word of mouth is, it's literally someone who doesn't work at the company telling another person who's a prospective buyer that this is something they should be interested in or should check out. So you did your introduction of what your company is about, and you talked about chatbots and all these sort of things, and it's wonderful. And if people are watching this, they're going to be like, "Oh, maybe I should check that out." But they also know that you work there, so you're going to say, wonderful things and how great it is. But if their best friend or someone they know, like, and trust, KLT, says, you should really check out this company. They hooked me up with chatbots, and it was the greatest experience I've ever had. Studies have shown that a referral from someone like, and trust, almost 87% of the time people will act on that referral. Whereas if you see an ad or you see something, maybe you remember it for a minute, you don't remember it, or you say, I'm going to go back and check that out later, it just doesn't have the same lasting effect as if someone you care about says, check this out, do it. Same thing about restaurants, same thing about movies, same thing about books. Someone you trust tells you they love this book, you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to go pick up that book. Whereas, so it's almost better by 100, 200, 300% if you can actually get your customers to be talking about you, as opposed to you just keep saying, I'm wonderful, I'm wonderful, I'm wonderful. It's like, think about like a dating situation. I could tell you I'm a wonderful lover and all sorts of things, but if one of your friends said, yeah, I dated the guy, he was a good guy, you should really, consider it. It's the exact same thing. It just, everything sounds better coming from a friend, and like brands really need to spend a lot more time and effort than they currently do to get their happy fans talking about them, because like I got to tell you, like the brands I love talking about, because either the product connects with me or they've treated me well or I've had a great experience. So I am unpaid, I'm literally paying them to promote them or to tell my friends about them, because the way my personality is, I need validation from other people. I want you to tell me what I'm doing, wearing, seeing, whatever is cool, but you're never going to be able to tell me that if I don't share these things with you. So I'm one of these people that loves to share a great movie I saw, or a great experience I had at a restaurant, or just a company that does things right. I'd much rather talk about positive things with brands than always be talking about, oh, this brand is horrible, or that product failed, or whatever. That's just my personality. But you know we've come to a place, I know I'm not letting you talk at all. I'll stop in a second, but we've gotten to a place where it's just so much easier, and maybe to a lot of people it's more fun to like really say negative things about brands and products. And I really want people to share the stuff they care about, because it's far more useful and far more fun, and like you could argue that it's better for society.
That's true, actually. And it's like that when somebody else has developed a trust in that company and they are saying it out loud. So even I will have a perspective saying that if they find it amazing, maybe even it will be a seamless experience for me.
Exactly.
So, what would be ways to leverage this word of mouth marketing in a digital age for a B2B organization? And how can a business plan around this?
That's so it's there's really hard ways of doing it, and there's really easy ways of doing it. So you can structure these big programs and put teams together and think, but there's really, really simple ways to start. So one of the sort of the tricks I do is I send a survey to all of I get brought into a company, I send a survey to all our customers. And the survey can be 5 questions, a real simple survey. What you ask is relevant but not really relevant. But the questions I usually ask are, when pre-COVID, when people were traveling, I would ask what conferences you attend, what trade shows you really like, what trade publications you read, what blogs you read. And the last question would always just be something silly or funny, like what's your favorite color, or favorite dessert, or something like that. I would take the what trade shows you go to, what trade publication you read, and that's really useful information, because if you see that 90% of your customers are going to a certain trade show, you should definitely be there yourself. But from a word of mouth standpoint, and same thing about publications things, but from a word of mouth standpoint, I really just cared about who opened the email and who filled out the survey. So just to keep numbers real simple, let's say we sent out 100 of these, and 22 people opened the email and 11 people actually took the time to fill out the survey. Those 11 people are raising their hand and saying, I want to help you. I want to do something with you. So you put them in a different category. They're almost like your super fans.
Right.
And I would treat those people like gold. I would get them on the phone. I would reward them. I would, make them feel very, very special, because those people have already self-identified as people who are willing to take a little bit of time out of their day to help your business. And you sort of, you really engage with them and make them feel like they want to share and they want to do things. Those are your super fans. Those other, I don't remember how many people I said open the email, but let's say 16 people or whatever that open the email, they're kind of one level below. And the people who never open the email, I wouldn't just ignore them, but I wouldn't give them like the VIP white glove treatment. So maybe they go into a funnel and they get, some more emails and things like that and thing. But your goal is to just keep moving you've got kind of many different goals. Your goal is those 7 people who are the super fans. You want them talking, you want them sharing, you want to give them the tools, make them feel like really special. That second category of people who open the email, who have a hint of interest, you want to move them up to those super fans. So it's a bit of a different engagement process, but it's still, reaching out to them, offering them incentives and doing sort of things. And that last group of people, the big group of people who never open the email at all and, have no relationship with your company or anything, it's really to get them to just care enough about your company to open the next email and then continue the process and moving them up. But like, no person is going to talk about any brand if you don't give them something to talk about. And that could be a million different things, but you really have to give them either a great experience or the tools to share or all sorts of things. But the biggest mistake that companies make is they don't ask their super fans for anything. They don't say, would you refer us? Have you referred us? Would you share this tweet, or would you do this and all this? Um, because you really need to, you need to reach out, you need to have a relationship, especially now with everything that's going on in the world. People are making very different kinds of decisions around brands with
Yeah.
Black Lives Matters and COVID, and people are picking favorite brands based on how they treat their employees, or what their media presence was like through pandemics and protests and things like that. It is more important than ever, and it's always been important, but it's more important than ever to, as a brand, to have fans and have people that care about your brand and have real relationships with your customers. And the way you do that is to be human and show personality and have an opinion. And that scares a lot of brands, but it's kind of like that's the secret right there. Like, just be human. That doesn't mean you can't use chatbots, but it's be human, have an opinion, and care about the people who are giving you money, and support them, and create real relationships with these people. And if you've got a million customers, you obviously can't know everyone by first name and things like that, but you should certainly know 1,000 of them or something like that. And but it takes work. And sort of in the last 5 years, I'd say growth hacking has become sort of the fashionable thing to do. And instead of building a relationship, and ask our customers to bring 10 of their friends, we're just going to spam 1 million people and churn out 99% of them, and hope that 1% come in and go through our funnel and things like that. Those are really short term gains for long-term pains. Because if you don't build a relationship, you have no brand loyalty, you have no anything. The minute someone offering something similar to you offers a coupon or a discount or a better feature set or anything, they're probably going to leave because they don't have that connection. And something I've learned throughout my very, very long career is brands are not allowed to make mistakes, but people are.
Yes.
So if there's people running your company and they know the people in your company, you get a second and third chance. If you're AT&T and your cell phone doesn't work when you really need it, you're just going to go to Sprint because you don't know anybody at AT&T. You don't care. But there's a real opportunity, and word of mouth is also like something that levels the playing field between a medium-sized company and a giant company, or a small company and a medium-sized company. The more passionate your users are, is like that's a game changer. And I don't even mean influencers, but people who love your product can find you 25 more people who will love your product. So you get 200 of these people that are out hunting for you. And hunting's maybe a bad word, but like engaging with other people and going and doing their regular things, but always talking about your product as well, because they love your product, not because you're coercing them to do it or anything like that. Those people will find new customers for you, and those customers will come in at a very different mindset. They'll be much closer to the close than cold emails or things like that. And word of mouth isn't the only thing you should do. You should still do your growth stuff. You should still be buying paid ads and do your SEO and all those things. But this is a very, very key part of the overall puzzle, and it's also a piece that people don't value as highly as they should.
Right, right, absolutely. And it is more like this, like you said, that this would be a very long-term relationship when the customer trusts you, so that they won't leave your brand and go to somebody else, and they will stick with you till the end. So that
Mm-hmm.
is the best you can get.
Yeah, exactly. You get it. Mhm.
Yeah. So, how do you think AI, chatbots, and other technology in general help in creating these memorable customer experience that customer would want to share in their circles?
So so how brands can use AI chatbots and all these different things, they can create a real, it's a great customer service experience. I'll tell you a story. I bought something on Amazon last night. Not a huge fan of Amazon. I don't particularly think they're a great company, and I've said that before. And this is maybe why my account got weird last night. But they said there was suspicious activity on my account, and they couldn't process the transaction, and they locked down my account, and I have to reach customer service. Well, I don't know if you've ever tried to reach customer service on your Amazon account, but you need your account. So I went in, I hit, contact us. They make me sign in again. I sign in again, and they say, there was suspicious activity on your account. Please contact customer service. But I'm literally trying to contact customer service. So as far as I'm concerned, and again, I don't like to talk negatively about brands, but that was a bit of a broken experience. If there was a chatbot or an AI or some way that I could just at the bare minimum get some help or get some instructions or get routed to the right part of the website, that would have been an enormous help. So chatbots and AI, I don't believe they do the job of a human, but they can certainly ease a lot of frustration in a moment that's very frustrating. And that I think brands should really adopt, because as anytime you can make things easier for a customer, they're going to be happier, and happier customers talk, and it all plays into the same thing.
Yes, yes, absolutely. It is like instead of going through multiple pages on a web page or just like a customer support, I can just click on the bottom right of the page and ask the bot a question and can give me answer, and I would be more than happy.
And I've seen some great use of chatbots recently. Like a lot of the major shipping companies are using chatbots for tracking your items. You can use chatbots. Like just more and more of really great examples of it are bubbling to the top and becoming more obvious to me as part of my daily routine.
Yeah. I think we come across really great examples, and it has eased our customer experience so much that now we do not want to go back to that mobile dialing thing where we
Mhm.
have to wait for the agent to connect to 2 minutes, and then they're going to ask the same question that I had conveyed
Mhm.
it before. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Exactly. There's nothing better than be able to get a quick answer on something, and a phone tree isn't going to do that.
yeah,
For the most part, it's even more confusing. So being able to just get something really quickly, again, anytime you can erase frustration or erase friction, it's a positive.
yes, yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
So, what do you think would be the appropriate marketing strategies for the companies that are unable to cope up with the bad economic conditions due to the pandemic? And how can AI and automation help in this journey?
So well, that's an interesting question and a big question. How would brands use AI to get through the current situation? I would say they should be very selective about it. I think you should use AI right now to answer questions, communicate things that are going on. One of the most frustrating things that I've found right now, and I don't understand why it is because nobody can explain it to me, is I bought something online and it says I'm going to get it in August. Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I kind of like, AI and chatbots would be a really great way to just communicate. It's like your shipment's going to come in August because due to COVID-19, we have less people in our warehouse, less trucks on the road. Like it'd be a great way to actually create, not explanations or excuses because that's not fair, but it's a great way to actually like give all the information. Again, use it to ease frustration because I'm frustrated because I want something and I'm used to getting it within like 3 days to 7 days, and all of a sudden it's going to take 60 days. I don't even know if I need it in 60 days. And things like that. So chatbots would be a really great way to handle the communication process around that, give people an option to, and no brand wants to do this, but again, give them the option to cancel the order if they need to because it's waiting too long. Give them step by step where my order is, how many more days it's going to be. There's a lot of interesting things you can do along those lines. So it really is, again, all about erasing friction and frustration. That's where I see a real role for chatbots, and you can say how we erase friction and frustration can be many different ways and many different use cases. But the overall, the reason this thing is worth investing in and worth spending time setting up is if it erases friction and frustration, customers will be happy.
Yeah. And also using automation and some tools at least, it is very cost effective. Instead of hiring four personnel, you can have one chatbot who can communicate with your end consumers, at least for for the first time. Maybe
Mhm.
going further and having complex queries, you need some agents, but still the number goes down to really a low percentage.
Yeah, and I'll be the first to admit I'm a bit old school. I like speaking to people, and in the early days of chatbots, I found them. I was anti-chatbot because it was really just 7 messages that were pre-typed in. There was no like AI behind it or no thought process, and that actually made me more frustrated. But now the chatbots have gotten quite good. It still doesn't replace a person, it still doesn't think, but it can really speed up a process. It can keep someone engaged. So I'm converted to the dark side. I see the value in it now.
Yeah. So, are there any thoughts that you would like to share our viewers with concluding?
Any thoughts? Give me a topic. I've got thoughts on everything.
Anything that you would like to share on how people can improve coming out of this pandemic?
So coming out of this pandemic, people are going to really need to rethink how they do everything. This is something that none of us have a playbook for. None of us really know what to do. So, what worked a year ago may or may not work right now. There's no such thing as best practices. For depending on your industry, you might have had your stores closed for 3 months or your restaurant closed for 3 months. To pretend that it's just business as usual is going to be very difficult because especially for restaurants, there's going to be all sorts of new rules and sort of things like that. The um, the best advice I can give people is to be patient, be human, and take some chances, because if anything this is proven, I don't want to get all doom and gloom, but like we're all going to die, and it could be sooner than later. So if you've wanted to do something with your business that seems a bit risky, now's maybe the time to do it, because you've survived through something you never imagined you survived through. If you ever wanted to tell that girl that you love her, now's kind of the time to do it. Like everything sort of changed, like as people were changed. Like we've been indoors for months and months, and all our habits have probably changed, from hygiene to fashion to everything. Like you need to reinvent your business in a certain respect. We need to reinvent ourselves. We need to reimagine all our communication and marketing. So, my best advice would be, to a certain extent, start from the beginning again. It's this is a completely different, I don't want to say it's a different world, because that's too much, but it's a different situation, and people are different through this. So marketing is all about knowing your customer, understanding them, and giving them something that they want. So how do you change your marketing after a pandemic? Well, you just start from the beginning and get to know your customer again, because their wants might be different. So does that mean that you talk to them differently? Let them tell you that. Does that mean that where you advertise is should be different? Let them tell you that. And that goes back to being close with your customers. Your customers will tell you everything you need to do to make millions and billions of dollars. The disconnect is, a lot of brands don't like to listen to their customers, because one, they may be afraid of what they tell them, and two, there's ego or whatever driving them, that they know better. But man, a customer, You speak to 10 customers, they'll tell you what your product should look like for the next 2 years. They'll tell you what your campaign should be. They'll tell you everything. You don't have to take all of their advice, but there's going to be nuggets of wisdom in there, and it's foolish to ignore it. So, um, it's how do you survive? You go back to the basics. Marketing is about delivering a product that people care about. You got to make sure that people still care about your product, and if they don't, fix it.
Yes, yes. That's really simple but effective message. Thank you so much.
No problem. It was my pleasure.
Yeah. And thank you for giving us your time. The insights that you have shared are really valuable, and the audience will really enjoy the interview.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it out in the world.
Yeah. So we'll be back with a new episode with a brand new expert soon. So stay tuned, and we'll see you around for the next one. Goodbye.